Hello students, in this video we are going to discuss Ulysses by Alfred Tennyson. So Tennyson was a Victorian poet living during the Victorian era, and he wrote this poem named Ulysses. So the title of this poem, Ulysses, refers to a Greek hero by the name of Ulysses. He's a mythological character. He's a character in a work by Homer. Homer, who is a blind poet. Okay, blind poet, Greek poet, who wrote great epics. Actually, he did not write those epics. Because he was blind, he composed these two epics, two great epics, which are Iliad and Odyssey. So these two deal with the legendary legends, and we can say mythology of the Greeks, and they are comparable to how the Mahabharata and the Ramayana work for Indians. So these are long epics that were originally meant for people to be consumed through hearing. So they were performed by people who recited these as poetry. So in Greek verse, in ancient Greek verse, these two works are there. And in Odyssey, the primary character is Odysseus, in the Greek version of the name Odysseus. When it was Latinized, it became Ulysses. So Tennyson is writing about this character to convey a few ideas, a few interesting ideas that we are going to look at this in this poem. So let me just give a small, summary of the story of what happens in Odysseus, because this poem happens in a particular context. So Odysseus is one of these people who are living in the island of Ithaca. He was the king of Ithaca, and he goes to Troy just to fight this big great war against the Trojans, against the Trojans. So when he goes there, he encounters many things, many great things, and he fights this great battle, and he and his companions, his friends, win this battle. And when they are returning, something interesting happens, as in there is bad weather in the sea, and all of his friends advise him not to start for the not to return to his family, but to wait until the storm is abated. And in those days, in ancient days, there was this belief that the forces of nature were guided by spirits, gods, and people were ruled by a certain sort of belief system that if there is bad weather, it's not just a natural cause, but the god, for example, the Greek god Poseidon, was not happy. So they actually lived in a state where they were very much in fear of the gods, of the forces of nature. But Ulysses was a little bit different. That is a main important thing that we need to focus upon to understand this poem. Ulysses wants to just go. He disregards the advice of his friends, and he says that, let's say I really want to see my wife and my son. So his wife and son are waiting there back at home in this small island kingdom of Ithaca, and he sets off sail. But the god Poseidon gets angry because he has done something to defy the gods, especially the Poseidon. So basically, the rest of the book is about how he has all sorts of adventures while the god Poseidon is stopping him from going back home because he has done this act of hubris. So this word hubris is a word which was seen in a very negative form, in a negative light, in the sense that anybody who tries to defy the gods or say that, I don't care, and goes against the grain, those people um, s- are called to have this quality within him, which is hubris. So, this is the kind of person Ulysses is, and he, being a hero, in many ways, he goes through all sorts of adventures, and he goes from one island to the other, and experience all monsters and gods and whatnot. Okay, gods and different creatures and everything, and it takes almost like 20 years for him to get back home. So, back at home, his wife Penelope and his son are ardently and faithfully being loyal to him with the belief that he has not died. So, there is a pressure on them that the king has died and we need to move on and appoint a new king. So, while this is happening, the wife Penelope, the wife of the king, um, waits all this time for just for Odysseus or Ulysses to get back home and take back the kingdom. So this is what is happening in this story. So after all these adventures and all, because Ulysses is such a great warrior and he's such a great person, somehow he gets back home. He is successful in getting back home in time and taking back his kingdom. So this is where our poem begins. Tennyson wrote this poem. For example, this is like an um, uh, ancient text. The original text, but Tennyson is writing in the Victorian era. So basically, it would be comparable to someone who is writing about what events in Mahabharata or Ramayana right now. Like, for example, they take a character from the Mahabharata or Ramayana and putting words in their mouth and writing literature on them. So that is what Tennyson is doing here. So after he returns, he's back home. He's happy that he's reunited with his family, his wife, his son, his kingdom. He's back in the position of the king. Okay, he's no longer this warrior wandering around fighting different creatures and in different wars and everything. But now there is a sense of dissatisfaction. Now that he has tasted the world, now he feels that this is too boring. He's bored by what he sees and what he has to experience back at home. So that is where this poem starts. So this is like the speaker in this poem is Ulysses himself, ruminating over what he has experienced, recalling the things that he has experienced, and how it is too dull to stay back home just being a king to this small kingdom here. He wants to explore more, and he wants to go out there and be out there and do things, do more things, explore more. And there is this hunger within him. He's back, he's happy, but he doesn't want to just retire. Basically, he doesn't want to retire. He wants to go back in there and get back into action. Basically, so this is what this poem is. So now that we have discuss the title, the Ulysses. Who is here? Ulysses, and the author, who is Alfred Tennyson. I'm sorry, poet, basically, right? Poet who is Alfred Tennyson, and who's from the Victorian era, and and then we also discussed about the context in which Ulysses speaks in this poem. So now let's read through the text line by line and try to understand what's happening in this poem. So Ulysses speaks here. It little profits that an idle king, by this still hearth, among these barren crags, matched with an aged wife, I meet and dole unequal loss unto a savage race, that hoard and sleep and feed and know not me. So, in these few lines, we can see what Ulysses is feeling, the state of his mind, and how his perspective on his wife and on people. So this is quite revealing actually. It little profits that an idle king. So he calls himself the idle king. So he thinks that he doesn't have much of an interesting thing to do anyways. He's just lying around there. He thinks that it is he's being too idle basically. Not much to do there. So it is a stark contrast from where he has been before. He was going on these adventures. He was out there fighting wars and everything, and now he's back here with his family. He's happy, yes, but he feels very bored. Basically, he feels that he's just not doing much, right? So, by the still hearth. So this is a picture of how a hearth is like a fireplace, basically. So he's just relaxing over there beside the hearth. Among these barren crags, look at the landscape that he describes. If you actually go to the islands of Greece, that is what you see. Nothing much grows there. It's very rocky, and that is what these barren crags are about. So the landscape is very dry, okay, dry and like barren. Nothing grows there, okay. Mostly island people and all survive by seafood and other stuff like that. So matched with an aged wife. Look at the way he speaks about his wife. Very interesting. This is the same wife who has waited for him, been loyal to him for 20 years, and he's back with her. And he says that it's an aged wife, okay, calls her an aged wife. So basically, he himself doesn't feel like he has aged much. He feels like within himself, he's quite young now. So he finds his wife very aged. I meet and dole unequal loss unto a savage race. So after encountering different governments, different kingdoms with different customs and different legal systems, he finds his own people very backwards. And he thinks that the legal system of the kingdom of Ithaca is very, unequal. Okay, so in the ancient world, it was very common for people to have different laws for different status of the same community. So people on the higher rungs and the richer would have a different sort of law applied to them than those of a lower status in that same community. So he finds this as savage, okay, and he calls his own people savage race. So basically, you can understand that his mind has changed with the world that he has explored. Now he thinks that his own home is savage, okay, boring, nothing much to do, and it's not as exciting, as interesting as what he had experienced outside. That hoard and sleep, this savage race, what do? They hoard and sleep and feed and know not me. What does he mean by that? They collect, okay, all they think about is just to gather money, things, okay, that is what hoarding is, okay, and sleep, okay, and feed. So basically, life is just gathering, sleeping, and just having good stuff, feeding. They don't think beyond that. They're very simple sort of people, and that is why he calls them savage. Okay, and he says something interesting. And no, not me. So basically, he has been on this great adventure. He has acquired this great name and this great fame. Okay, because he has fought these great battles. So he's like a heroic figure now. So in the ancient world, when people fought in wars and did great deeds of valor and courage, they became almost like a demigod or like some sort of a partially divine. Basically, they were exalted to a different level. So that is how he finds himself, and that is how other people in different places have received him as a great warrior. But back at home, it was just their king. So these people were living in their own little bubble, in their own little island, basically, literally. So, and he thinks that they know not me. It doesn't mean that they don't know him anymore. They know that this is Ulysses, this is our king and all. And beyond that, they are unable to appreciate his greatness, is what he means by they know not me. Okay, so that is how he feels: underappreciated, under-celebrated, and bored, and with the aged wife. Okay, and with customs and all, which he feels no longer feels an affinity to. He has grown up in these customs, in these laws, and in his with people, but now he finds this island people as too savage. Okay, so this is how his adventure, his travels have changed him as a person. So let us continue on. I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the lees. All times I have enjoyed, greatly have suffered, greatly, both with those that love me and alone, on shore, and when through scudding drifts the raining hades. Vex the dim sea, I am become a name. So basically, he's saying that I cannot rest from travel. It's not just in me to just retire and just sit in one place in the island and just throw up my hands and say, oh, okay, now let me rest. That is not how he feels. He has not yet done yet with adventure in his life. He wants to do more. Okay, I will drink life to the lees. So this lees is talking about the dregs. For example, when you have wine, at the bottom, back in those days, nowadays like they refine it out and all, but the thing is, back in those days, at the bottom of the bottle, if you see some of the dregs of the wine, there is a residue left actually. So basically, a person who wants to fully appreciate the drink, they drink up to the bottom. They don't leave the lees also. So basically, when he says, I will drink life to the lees, that is what does he mean? He means that he wants to experience life to the fullest extent. He wants to take it all in. It's not enough adventurous experiences. Okay, I have more to explore, more to experience. So that is his state of mind now. He wants to go out there and do what needs to be done. So I will drink life to the lees. All times I have enjoyed, greatly have suffered, greatly. So he has both positive experiences and bad experiences, and he's okay with that. Okay, it's not that he has just had like a beautiful time out there. There were difficult times too, both with those that loved me and alone. So basically, he was with his friends at times, and when he was separated from them also. Like in this, I would suggest that students actually go up on YouTube. You will find many, and in other ways, like you will find many. Many stories based on this epic. So before you read this poem, before you actually get into the text, to understand the context in the fullest, what his adventures were, go type Odysseus or Ulysses. You will find a lot of videos. Okay, especially something that is animated, or a movie. You can watch a whole movie. It's a very interesting one, interesting story that is depicted. So you can watch that and find out, and then understand what is Ulysses really missing here, by being back in his island. So, so he suffered, he enjoyed, both alone and with his friends, okay, on shore, and went through scudding drifts. These are he's referring to rainy clouds. So this is a common image that you see in many of the poets using weather as a metaphor for the circumstances in life, things and the ups and downs experienced in life, being compared to the weather, like good weather and bad weather, basically. Okay, through scudding drifts, which are like rainy clouds, the rainy haze. Okay, this was like a group of stars associated with bad weather back then, rainy weather and all, storms and everything. So vex the dim sea. So the troubling of the sea, okay, because mostly this happened on sea, like going from island to island. So through all these experiences, this is what happened. He was alone. He was with his friends. He enjoyed. He had difficult times. Okay, all of this was part of his adventure. I am become a name. He's talking about his name. Here he's talking about, referring to his fame. He has become like a hero, a person who celebrated. He's no longer like, for example, like in our culture, like, Lord Ram, okay, from Ramayana, and the Pandavas, the way they became immortalized or in legend. So in that way, he has become a name. So he has like he's larger than life right now. So for always roaming with a hungry heart. So he always is roaming around with a hungry heart, wants to experience more and more. Much have I seen and known, cities of men and manners, climates, councils, and governments. So, with a hungry heart, he roamed around and he found different types of manners, customs, climates, okay, different weathers, councils, different ways of doing government, okay, governments and legal systems. All these things he has actually experienced here. He has a very well-rounded experience, and he is pining for more. Okay, not for the same thing. He doesn't want to return to the same places, but he's saying that there is so much of the world that is there to explore, and people in my kingdom don't realize that. The um, people here are too, like, in their own world, in their own little bubble, and I would like to explore more. Is what he's saying.